So much yesterday after the draft lottery about the upcoming offseason. It's not sometimes the biggest moves, the ones that count. Brook Lopez, 17th of July, $3.38 million. How'd that work out?
Yeah.
Pretty good decision, I would say. Not only has he spaced the floor for Giannis all year, but 29 points. He was on one in that fourth quarter. He hit the big three to cut it down to one, had a huge block, a board. It really was terrific. Speaking of terrific, two Hall of Famers here at Detroit basketball. President accounted for Zeke G. Hill. I'm with them. We've got a lot to get to here from coaches and players along the way here on Game Time, but let's start with Lopez. Zeke, you know this. I mean, even as stars, you got to have the others step up, and sometimes they got to give you one game in a series to get you there. This may be the one for the whole playoffs, but it's a big one because he really helped will them to this win.
Not only did he help will them to this win, but you got to give him credit for totally revamping his game. You know, he was an all-star as a post-up center in this league. And as the game changed, he had to develop a three-point shot. And not only did he develop it, but he became a deadly weapon for Milwaukee. And when you look at his play tonight, you know that you're not surprised that he played well. His career, he was a pillar and a carrier for a team that they went and they played through him. And tonight he stepped up big and he remembered some of those big moments that he had.
We talked, G, about second chance points and all those things that matter, especially if you're a team that shoots threes, which the Bucks do and normally do well, only 25% tonight. Part of this story you're going to hear from us, and I think from the players, they didn't even play well as a team.
Yeah.
And they won this game. But, G, you talk about Lopez, 4 blocks, 11 boards to go along with the 29 points, didn't turn the ball over, helped force a couple of turnovers, was good defensively. I mean, this is the kind of night you're looking for when you need some help and don't have that Giannis kind of a night, because for Giannis, kind of pedestrian, 7 of 16 with 24 points tonight.
Yeah, you know, I think Lopez and his overall activity, I mean, obviously he hit some big shots, but as you said, offensive rebounding, block shots, his presence was felt all over the court. And he just played big. I mean, I love what Isaiah said in terms of changing his game as a young player. As a young player in his late 20s, you know, deciding, okay, I'm going to embrace the change of the game and start shooting more threes, but also have some toughness, 11 boards, just his energy, his activity. You said it best. He willed his team, and his team needed that because they were, you know, out of sorts, out of rhythm. The time off maybe hurt them a little bit. And I thought Toronto came out early with a sense of urgency and put together maybe their best first half of basketball collectively that I've seen in quite some time. But, you know, Brook Lopez, 5 guys in double figures. Eric Bledsoe almost was in double figures himself. It was a collective effort. It wasn't just, as you said, Giannis leading the way. The others stepped up and played big. Yeah. And that's what you expect at home.
Yes.
You know, on the road, you want your stars
More
to
difficult.
sort of come through for you. But at home, your bench player, your complementary players, you want them and expect them to play well, and they did here in Game 1.
We'll have a lot more, but one more thing on the Bucks before I want to get to quiet. Obviously, we'll have the coaches intermittently. But when you sit there and you look at the Bucks, Middleton an all-star, Eric Bledsoe was right on that fringe of playing like an all-star. Those 3 players shot 14 of 40 from the floor, 2 of 15 from 3. There's no way if I told you those numbers, you would think before the game they'd win this game. And they won the game. And Lopez and Brogdon, really the 2 players that stand out. Malcolm was terrific. They upped his minutes to 26 minutes, 15 points. He doesn't turn the ball over. He plays well defensively. He hit a couple of big threes. He was huge as well.
I thought Brogdon, it definitely was huge. You know, not only from an offensive standpoint, but defensively, I thought when they needed a stop, when they needed someone to really guard, he was able to shut down either Lowry, who had a great game, but I thought Brogdon got some key stops at the end. I thought whenever he was matched up against Kawhi, at least he made Kawhi work. And we heard Reggie Miller talking about, hey, Kawhi's getting tired. And you can see at the end, particularly the last 3 minutes of the game, when Toronto needed a bucket. They never went to Kawhi, but I think fatigue had set in on Kawhi also. And I thought Reggie Miller hit the nail on the head when he kept pointing it out during the course of the game, that Kawhi was wearing down, and he didn't have enough offensive punch at the end of the game.
Part of figuring out how to get your stars at their best, and I'll use the term we use now, is load management within the game. And how many minutes, and understanding the usage. Yeah, Kawhi took all those shots, but he's also defending the best player on the other side. Yeah. Now you come into the series, 42 minutes for Siakam, 42 for Kawhi. That's a symptom, G, of what we talked about in pregame could be the difference in the series. That Toronto doesn't have any depth. I mean, Brogdon outscored their bench by himself, 15-12. You can't have that. You got to get some minutes from somebody else because Kawhi looked exhausted in the fourth quarter.
And look, he has every reason to be
absolutely.
exhausted.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. He has certainly been fantastic, and his usage rate on both ends of the floor off the charts. And look, this is Toronto. This is who they are. They're going to go 8 deep. And they did that throughout the Philadelphia series. Maybe there's still some fatigue left over from that. But if you're Toronto, there's some encouraging things that happen here in this game. Mm-hmm. I mean, first of all, Kyle Lowry got back to being aggressive, playing, the way that we're accustomed to seeing him play. And quite honestly, it was a close game down the stretch. It could have gone a couple different ways. Danny Green had a turnover. There was a steal against Giannis in transition. 2 bad three-pointers by Toronto. So, 8 points. But, there was a stretch there with about a minute and a half left where if Toronto executes a little bit better and maybe knocks down a shot here, they could have easily stole this game.
But this is part, I want to follow and ask you about this, G, because that's part of it is I wrote down 1:10 to go. Raptors are down by 4. Giannis drives to the lane. We were all talking about it as it happened. A steal. I think it might have been Lopez who helped with that steal. They get a steal, and they go the other way. Danny Green, yes, he's open in the corner, but Danny Green didn't. He hit 1-3 in the game. He took the shot. Then Kyle, off a long rebound, just comes in. Deep shot, not really in rhythm, and you never get Kawhi the touch. Now, you got a 2-possession game with 1:10 to go. You got it right. You need like the new version of Kyle to come back for that moment, don't you see? I'm not trying to get on a guy who was 10 15.
No.
But in that moment, you need to slow it down and isolate Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, and the basketball guys had given you a gift in terms of getting the offensive rebound and getting it
correct.
Back.
Right.
And when you get that basketball as the point guard, you got to slow it down and then try to get it to Kawhi.
Right. Who could and one if anything else. Here's Coach Bud.
Steady. I think we always talk about our defense. We start with it, and I think the way that the guys competed and got after it defensively in the second half, and particularly the fourth quarter, just stands out to me. And the depth, Malcolm coming off the bench and playing the way he did, and just all the different guys we get contributing, and then obviously, big game from Brooke on both ends of the court, and we feel like we can get better. To get this win after, pretty significant days without playing, I think hopefully we'll be better between now and Game 2.
Matt Velasquez, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. But is this the best you've seen Brooke play, just in all facets of the game, getting inside, shooting from outside, and playing defense?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that does stand out is, the putbacks and the stuff around the basket, particularly in the first half. We were, kind of struggling for scoring and just anything offensively. And he was able to kind of manufacture a couple things. And obviously in the second half, the threes and the spread that he gives us. And then defensively, I thought, we'll look at the tape, but I thought he was there, several times in the fourth quarter. Making blocks, making big-time contests, rebounding. Certainly in a big moment, that was a great Brooke Lopez tonight.
Eric Name, The Athletic, but Kawhi takes just 5 shots in the fourth quarter. He scores just 2 points in the fourth quarter. Just what do you think of the job that Chris and Malcolm did on him for the game?
Yeah, we talked about just the individual pride it takes, with whoever has that assignment. And, for the majority of the night, it was Chris and Malcolm. And to be able to kind of tag team him. And then the fourth quarter, hopefully, between him seeing those two different guys all night and the activity around those two guys, we'll take that fourth quarter. We certainly can't rest or think that it doesn't take the same effort and the same activity going into the next game, start to end against Kawhi.
Bud, Tim Reynolds with the AP. It's not uncommon when you see a team playing from behind all night like you guys were for like 37, 38 minutes, there just comes a point where you guys run out of gas, where teams tend to run out of gas. You guys seem to find another gear. What is it about your group that you guys can be down for 3 quarters in the biggest game of your season and then somehow just put it together like it was nothing in the fourth?
Well, hopefully it speaks to our depth. First and foremost, I think we're got a lot of guys that are capable, that can contribute, that, confident on both ends of the court. I think it speaks a little bit to the character of the group. They just stick with it. I think it's become a little bit of a theme in the playoffs. I think eventually, hopefully, we feel like if we stick with what we're doing, good things will happen for us.
Kane Pittman with the pick and roll. But Malcolm, you spoke about him already, but it felt like early in the game he hit a couple of threes that, even though it was early, you really needed them at the time. So obviously, second game back, how good was it to have him hitting those big shots again, and what do you take from that?
Yeah, he was phenomenal. Again, the first half, I don't think we were very good, as a group. And Malcolm was one of those guys that kept us afloat. We already talked about Brooke kind of keeping us afloat in the first half. And he really did it. I think, what he's doing defensively is impressive too. Just, I think, second game back after, not playing for a significant period of time. It's impressive. And we certainly needed him tonight.
Coach Greg Matzik from WTMJ. Under 40% from the field and 25% from 3, that doesn't often lead to a playoff win. What does it say about your team, or that you're able to come through like you were able to, especially with that fourth quarter?
Hopefully it says we'll be better when we shoot the ball the next game. It's just, we talk about defense. I'm sure you guys that are around here just get tired of hearing about it, but you can bring your defense every night, and that's what we expect. And there's going to be nights when you don't make shots, and you got to just continue to do well or give it defensively. And if you do that, you maybe can break through and find a way to win on a night when you really don't shoot very well offensively or play that well offensively.
Eric Name, The Athletic. What do you think of Giannis's play tonight? It felt like he kind of imposed his will there in the fourth quarter with the driving kick and then defensively as well.
Yeah, I think Giannis was similar to our whole group. A lot of positives as the game went on. I think as we look at the film, we'll probably see that, I think he's making a lot of good reads, a lot of good decisions. We got to shoot the ball well around Giannis. And then, I think Giannis will play better. I think he's, again, playing without 6 days for him. He needs the rhythm of the game and everything. So, I think it's great to get a win with him. I thought he was good, but I think he can be better.
Coach Andrew Wagner, Forbes Sports. With the layoff that you guys had, were you kind of prepared a little bit for maybe a little bit of a sluggish start because you can't really recreate the intensity of playoff basketball in practice settings?
Yeah, I mean, any coach that goes into a game without playing playing a game for 6 days is, very worried. How are you going to play? I don't know that I would use the word sluggish, but that's just being nitpicky. It's just how are you going to play? How are you going to execute? Just all those things. It's impossible to replicate in practice, and you're also incredibly conscientious of staying healthy during those 6 days. So I think we're just all glad to have played, and certainly to get the win. I'm sure they'll be better Tuesday or Thursday, whenever it is, and Friday, I guess, and us too. Too many days.
Bud, there was a timeout with 3:31 or something like that left, and you're down 2. You guys haven't been in too many close games, it feels like, for quite a while. So being able to play through that, start with defense, as you said, and get the win, is this a good thing for this team to go through that? Yeah,
I think the more experiences you get in close games and what are you going to do and how are you going to find opportunities, particularly offensively. But, I think what we've found and what we've done most of the year when we are in a close game, we're still going to push it. We're still going to play in transition, play in a spread situation, and take what the defense gives us. So certainly, it's big last 3.5 minutes to come out of that timeout and then close the game out the way they did.
Kevin Pelton, ESPN.com. You guys were positive in the minutes with both Chris and Giannis on the bench. What did you see from those groups that was kind of effective?
Yeah, we'll have to go back and look at the film, but I think, the guys just play together. I think George is out there lots of times during those stretches. Malcolm, hit shots. Brooks stepped up. Hopefully we have a way of playing where we can function on both ends, with or without, Giannis and Kawhi, or Giannis and Chris. And the guys just did it. It's the stuff we work on, practice, talk about. We want everybody to feel confident and participate. And when those guys aren't out there, that's what they got to do. Thank you.
Let's look at how it all went down. The Claw against the Freak. This is what you come for. The two best teams in the East. Two great players. Early defense, because they both can do that. Giannis, get out of the way. Too easy. Buckets. Lead 4 later in the first. Kyle Lowry, 10 of 15, Zeke, from the field. He had 30 in the game.
Lowry had a great game. You love to see him bounce back and play well with confidence, particularly out on the road.
Also, Siakam with confidence. Didn't do this enough, though. 2 of 9 from 3G. Settling when you could see here what happens when he gets to the rim.
I like when he attacks. He needs to do more of that. I love that
Pump,
play.
fake, and go.
Yes, sir.
It's easy from here to say that clearly.
Well, Lopez was doing everything tonight. Not only was he knocking down the three, we saw him get some early tip-ins, rebounding the basketball.
He was channeling his brother's caveman energy, too, and bringing that to the building. George Hill, how about some defense? But the follow from Giannis, down to 3, tight, late first half. Kawhi. Over Middleton. Terrific. Then, off the rebound, nice look from Danny Green inside. Leonard finishes that, too. First half, looked good. Second half, different for Kawhi. We'll get to that. In the meantime, transition. Bledsoe.
You turn the ball over against Milwaukee, one of the best at getting out and converting in the fast breaks off of those turnovers.
Here's Bled again. On Lowry, the spin. High off glass, and 1.
Flex.
Flex.
Jinx.
Did not shoot well here, didn't pass well either. Leonard leads up to 5. Looked like it was about to build beyond that. Trouble offensively for the Bucks. No trouble for the Raptors. Lowry, 7 of 9 from deep. Middleton looking to get it going. He did not shoot well on this night. 4 of 12 from the floor. Had 11 points. Giannis finds Lopez. That's the guy you get it to. 29 points for Lopez. And the work inside. Zeke, to your point, everything he was doing.
He was the big man tonight, and whenever you needed a shot, I thought Middleton made a big clutch basket here, but Lopez came up with big blocks, big rebounds, and he and Brogdon, I thought, was the difference in terms of Milwaukee's play tonight and having them be successful, not only in the half court, open court also.
Brogdon, 26 minutes, 15 points. The entire bench for the Raptors played 39 minutes and scored 12. Lowry, down 3, no mas. Even things up with 4 to go. Danny Green, not having the same luck. Turnovers, Lopez. This one will be easy. Back and forth we go. Giannis, Lopez, another big, it was like he was on. It was old school Brooklyn Nets. You're the star of the offense, Brook Lopez.
Yes, indeed. Just the star from downtown, the three-point land.
This was the sequence we'll look at further later that seemed to be a difference maker. Kawhi doesn't touch the ball. Green and Lowry miss. Lopez knows it's big, and it was. It was the closest the Raps would get late. They lose by 8. Milwaukee gets 2 of 15 from 3 and 14 of 40 overall from their 3 best players and still wins. None of this is going to make Nick Nurse very happy.
Nick Doug Smith, the Toronto Star. Do you think the cumulative effect of the last week or so got you guys in the last 7 or 8 minutes of that game?
I don't think so, Doug. I thought, you could maybe think that or whatever, but I thought we were right there. I thought we answered a bunch of runs, and we were still there to like 198. man, we had a couple great looks, and we had a couple bad offensive possessions before that point, but we still clawed it back, and we had a couple great looks there down the stretch. Had a couple good defensive possessions that didn't end up going our way, but we just those few plays there from about 2 minutes to 1 minute, right, back and forth that were probably the difference in the game. I didn't see, any fatigue or any of that kind of stuff that was like, it's a big problem or anything.
Nick, Dan Wecke with the Los Angeles Times. Before the game, you kind of described the defensive needs as essentially just having to be everywhere in the paint out. How do you think you guys handle that, and how, I guess, stressful and taxing is it to play against that team defensively when you do have to essentially be everywhere?
Well, it was okay. I thought our defense was pretty good, right? I thought we were executing our game plans really well. I didn't feel like we were under that much stress on there. The biggest thing is the transition, right? I mean, when you blow a layup or you get knocked down or something and the ball's still in play, they come at you in transition. Those were the only real tough offensive possessions we had. I thought, I got to look at it a little bit more too.
Nick, Andrew Wagner, Forbes Sports. When you're preparing to face a team that's had a layoff like Milwaukee, do you see that as an opportunity to kind of come out and maybe take advantage of a group that hasn't really had that intensity for a couple days?
Well, I mean, I think the one thing that we all know about these playoff games is you better have the intensity or you're in trouble, right? And I thought we did a good job of bringing some effort and pace and physicality at the beginning, but I don't think it'd be any different if they were coming off back to back or hadn't played in 5 days. I think both teams are trying to come out there and play with some intensity and effort and force and all those and pace and all those things.
Nick, Kate Burness, TSN. Kyle Lowry tonight, his best performance of the postseason, 7 of 9 from 3, saving Danny's pass. Can you talk about his performance tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he was really good, right? And it's not easy. We talked a little bit about pregame. They got a whole bunch of guys, kind of athletic guards, and they run a bunch of different guys at him, and they're doing a decent job of limiting his touches. So I thought it was good that he could get the ball as much as he did. He stepped into all of them, and it's been a while since he's had one of those nights where every time you pulled up, he thought he was going to make it. It was like every time he let it go tonight, you were like, that's going in, and that was good to see because we've seen those a lot, in the regular season and all that stuff. But he was great, man. He was fighting like heck out there. I thought he threw his body in front of people on a few things. Didn't get the whistle on a few. He always draws charges, and there was tons of charges going on out there. But he still was taking them. That's his thing, and he was good. He was awesome.
Tim Reynolds with the AP. Nick, I know you haven't seen tape yet, and kind of almost follow on Doug's question a little bit. Everybody but Kyle was 0 for 15 in the fourth. Just without studying film, did you like the looks you were getting for the most part? I know things got a little bit hairy there.
Yeah, I think when we did get shots, they were pretty good. I think we got hemmed up a couple times, and turned it over, and that's like the recipe for a bucket the other direction, right? So I think for the most part we did. I'm just trying to think. Kawhi had an ISO that ended up in a turnover. Danny had one there. I'm just trying to think of a really tough one. Maybe Kawhi had a fall away with a couple guys on him, but I can't think of any right now without watching the tape. Pretty happy. I think even Mark had a clean look at a 3. Danny with down 4 right away there with about 1:20 to go. We kick it out, clean look. We got the rebound, and Kyle took a pretty deep one. Mark had a couple 8 to 10 footers that were there. So that's the best I can do with my memory right there.
Brandon Hurley with the Carroll Times-Herald. Nick, you talk a lot about intensity and focus. With you guys being so close to stealing a game 1 here in Milwaukee, what do you do to get your guys refocused for Friday night and try to get a win there?
Yeah, I think Brandon, that you don't really have much choice, right? Like we're learning that each one of these games is critical. I thought we played a tough tonight, a tough brand of basketball for the most part. we gave ourselves a chance to win on the road in a Eastern Conference final, and it didn't turn out. But we put in a lot of work. But you got to file that one away, right? And put in more work next time. That's really where it starts. We gotta get some rest here tonight, focus in on our film, figure out some adjustments, build some confidence, right? And but then again, once it gets ready to go up for game 2, we got to be tough.
Nick, Reed Forgrave with CBSSports.com. Psychologically, for your team, especially with a game 1, would you rather have a game where you play clearly well enough to win and then lose in the final couple minutes, or would you rather lose by 13?
No, neither one of those. neither one of those feels good, man. It's a good question though, because it really doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? If it's a buzzer beater and you lose, or if it's a 30-point blowout and you lose, that game's over. And we saw that in that last series, right? We went up and blow them out in the first game, and it was, look, it was going to be a cruise, but we know better than that. These teams are too good. Both teams are good, and it's good chance. I thought the Philly series was going to be a long one, and I'm good chance this one will be too.
Nick, Michael Grange from Sportsnet. How would you compare the way the ball moved and maybe some of the distribution in the first half versus the second half or down the stretch?
Well, not terribly bad, Michael. I didn't like the start to the second half, right? We did all that work in the first half to kind of control that thing, and it really seemed like we had them reeling defensively, right? We were just getting, the only bad shots we were taking were because of ourselves, right? If we looked and touched the paint and sprayed it around and made another play and went into another action, and we were finding some good stuff. I thought like 3 of the first 4 possessions, we took it hard down the paint, got rocked big time physically, and they went down and laid it in. They got 4 layups to start the first half, and those were off 3 turnovers for sure. It might have been 4. So, if we're going to take it in there and there's going to be some hitting and slapping and stuff, we got to play through it and make sure we don't turn it over. Because again, turnovers against this team are trouble.
Thanks very much, everyone.
All right, thank you.
It was a big night.